more on this latest round of diplomacy. I'm joined now by Myung-koo Kang. He's from Boston. He's a professor of political science at Baruch College. There was all this enthusiasm following the first meeting in Singapore on the part of the White House. Some say they oversold the results, the talks stalling. There hasn't been a lot of progress. So talk to me about what happened today, what went wrong, and what your thoughts are about this breakthrough today.
I don't know whether there's any kind of real breakthroughs here, but we can observe that domestic politics going on here in the United States played a very, very important, critical role. As we know, President Trump, he is placed in a very politically challenging situation. So he seems to want to make some kind of, breakthrough in the denuclearization or summit meeting, through the summit meeting with Kim Jong-un. But I don't think we cannot expect any kind of big concessions from the North Korean side or even from the American side. As you know, if President Trump make many concessions, it's going to be politically backfired in domestic politics.
Yeah, and the joint statement following the Singapore summit, there seemed to be two important features. One, Pyongyang would work towards complete denuclearization. The other was a commitment on both sides to a lasting and stable peace on the peninsula. And it seemed the U.S. was fixated on one aspect, the denuclearization. Pyongyang fixated on the other. They wanted a declaration to the end of the war. They wanted a reduction in these sanctions against them. It seemed like a disconnect in terms of how each one perceived the joint statement.
Exactly. I mean, let me remind. The current meeting happened in Washington D.C. reminds me the joint statement happened in 2000 October. At that time, Special Envoy from DPRK visited White House, and in a week or so, U.S. government at that time, Clinton administration, and then Kim Jong-il regime at that time made a joint communique. It was a breakthrough. Even officially ending the Korean War and replacing the truce agreement into a permanent peace regime, expanding economic and cultural exchange, and ultimately normalizing the diplomacy, the relations between the United States and DPRK at that time. But as we know, in a month later, President Bush was elected, and after that, Bush administration declared that no talks with the rogue state or rogue regime or the axis of evil. So all those joint communique or agreement nullified. Some similar situation can be repeated in this process. What I'm saying is that, as we know U.S. Congress, the House is dominated by the Democratic Party, and Democratic Party made it quite clear that any big concessions from the American side will not be allowed. And also, if any kind of major deals happen between the two countries, I think that the Democratic Party will make some more sensitive such kind of human rights issues in North Korea or other things.
Well, it's interesting. The ROK is really pushing both sides to make concessions. And of course, Moon Jae-in's really kind of driven this whole process in some respects. Trump, though, has a sort of my way or the highway style, certainly on display with this wall issue and the shutdown that's going on now. Do you think he can give on some aspects on the part of the United States to get some type of movement here?
Right. Ultimately, this whole process reminds us the significance of more deliberative and collaborative process in dealing with the North Korean nuclear and missile program. From the South Korean point of view, some partial lift of sanctions, for instance, resuming Gaesong Industrial Complex and resuming Mountain Gumgang tourism, such kind of partial lifting of sanctions would be good for strengthening inter-Korean reconciliation or economic cooperation. For that purpose, we need to take into account the Japanese side perspective in dealing with the North Korean crisis as well. So the U.S. government, for instance, in terms of not just highlighting unilateral or bilateral approach in dealing with the North Korean problem, I think the Trump administration needs to pay more attention to more deliberative and collaborative approach with other countries, and at the same time here in domestic politics as well.
Well, we'll keep our eye on it. Hopefully we'll see some of that. Professor, thanks so much for your time.